Hey folks, good evening. First thing I need to check is that everybody can hear me. Jilly, that's coming through okay. Right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is literally a dry run for a new series that we're calling On Air. It's got a bit of a pun in it, I guess, but the first test run that we're doing is has a bit of an unfortunate note to it. So no joking or anything like that tonight, unfortunately. And apologies for the delay as well. As you can see that fluffiness around my chair, and that we've got a green screen behind me, and I had it absolutely dialed in earlier on, but I think the cat did something. But anyway, we are obviously here tonight to discuss, and let's make it quite clear. What happened there? That monitor went on. And it flicked off. Yeah, that's when I hit the fan. Okay, so the topic of conversation tonight is obviously going to be about JAL. Is it 516? 513? 516. Can you not hear me? Okay. Right. Yeah, most unfortunate incident that happened at Haneda earlier on today, last night in Japan, I think it was, ran about, believe it or not, 1747 approximately. Japan Airlines Airbus A350 collided with a Coast Guard aircraft, which so unfortunate. I mean, it's unfortunate that anything happened, to be honest with you. But these guys were carrying relief for the earthquake victims, search and rescue stuff. Not exactly entirely sure exactly what it was, but even so, an absolute shame that it happened. And that we do have. I did actually receive a message from one of our members, Malcolm, on our stream, and he mentions that NOTAM for the 1st of January 2024. This is a very interesting thing to note. The turn on the taxiway hold lights that are at the side of the runways, stop bar lights. So you're talking about the red lights that we see very often when we're filming at Heathrow at night time specifically, where you get the green lights running up to the hold point or the stop point, and then where the red lights are, that's a clear indication to stop. Now, what is interesting that Charlie lights, stop bar lights, Charlie 1 through to Charlie 14 were US, which basically means unserviceable, which means that they were inoperative and they were not working. So the Dash 8 was cleared to hold at Charlie 5. So one of the non-working stop systems. And to hold there, whilst they were obviously told that Japan Airlines A350 was on approach, and obviously once just to hold at that position, and then obviously once it had gone by, it would obviously be cleared for takeoff. But obviously, and we apparently have the tower recording, but we're unable to play it out tonight. So obviously what maybe happened, and I've actually got excuse me, some model representation here, which we were let's just have a look here. Which one are we doing? No, not that one, not that one, no, not that one, not that one, not that one. We're doing that one. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. This is obviously, it's still we're testing this stuff. As you can see off in the on that picture there, on that image there, we've got what is I have created this airport, which we've jokingly called Staines International, but more on that later. And of course, all of this stuff that you're seeing in front of you here is very kindly donated by our good friends at Aviation Retail Direct. It's not depicting a specific airport, but as you can see here in front of me is what I'm looking at the moment, we're probably going to put a runway in there, but sort of like a center line we can see. But you can quite clearly see this this Dash 8, which was, I'd imagine, at that was what it should have been given was hold at Charlie 5, which is that point there, whilst the A350 lands, passes him, and then he would have been cleared onto the runway. Or to, I don't know if they were departing, whether they were on the departure runway, or whether they were actually planning to move off across the airfield to another runway, or what, I don't know. But it may have been an intersect departure, which we've seen many times before. It looks to me as though it was sort of not that far past the touchdown zone of on the runway, so where the A350 touched down. And we'll have a look at some of the pictures, of course, to sort of decipher a few things in terms of what was going on when the aircraft touched down. Excuse me, I've had the lurgy again, by the way, folks, so that's why I've got a little bit of a cough on. But as you can see here, what obviously happened was that the Dash 8 actually turned onto the runway, and maybe it was actually it was confused. I mean, there's a lot of lights on runways, taxiways, etc., etc. Personally, I'm not sure how it get confused with the runway center lights. But when you don't have stop lights active, whether the pilots were informed by the tower as to the stop lights not being working from 1 to 13, I'm not sure. I would imagine they would. But anyhow, it's something that at this stage we need to decipher when it all comes out in the investigation. I'm not sure if and we have to obviously understand and appreciate, and that there were 5 lives lost on that Dash 8. Whether any of the pilots survived, I'm not sure. One picture I'm just going to quickly show you here, which is this one here. As you can see there, I can bring that up onto that. Can I transfer that onto there? Can the guys see that? Let me just have a look here, see whether that works there. No, it doesn't. Sorry, I'm just getting used to the setup on this, folks. So I need to sort of like full screen layout. There we go. So as you can see, is my cursor visible on the screen when I'm talking to them, when I'm mentioning something? Can you see that? You can't talk.
Okay. No.
No, it's not.
It's a setting we turn
Okay, well, as you can quite clearly see there, folks, there was a significant amount of video that's obviously that was available at the time of the incident, but also later on as well. Initially, when they had pilots on and specialists on, one of the pilots actually mentioned that it appeared that the nose gear had collapsed. But what is really significant there, he actually retracted that statement a little bit later on to mention that he felt that it may have actually collapsed or been in the stage at the stage of collapsing. But what is really significant there, as you can see, is the damage to the nose. Now that's quite a significant impact that's happened there to the nose. So in terms of the angle at which the A350 impacted the Dash 8, it's obviously again speculative, but obviously that has hit something, not after the incident, because obviously it all happened at once. That appears that was the initial point of impact, I think. So, and also if you look at the number 1 engine on the right hand side, there were images also showing that the engine cowl itself had been hit by it, had an impact, quite a heavy duty impact. And the engine cowl, the leading edge cowl, is a significantly strong piece of equipment. To puncture it it requires quite a lot of force. So we don't know if we just come back to this, and then oh, what happened there? Oh, am I all right? Am I all right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, but I want to come up.
You put your monitor full screen somehow.
Okay. Just press X there, yeah?
Yeah, or escape on the keyboard.
Exit full screen, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is get that up. There we go. So we've obviously managed to get hold of a Japan Airlines A350, and I have to say, before I show this, I want to pay homage to the crew. And for the flight crew, the cabin crew, and the passengers, for all working very closely and vigilantly together to clear that aircraft. Jilly mentioned to me that somebody had said that there was at Airbus they had done an exercise. Alex Macarena.
That's not his name.
Oh, okay, but
do you know what I mean? That Alex, yeah, Alex Macaris. I can't.
What, from Toulouse?
No, he'd just been there, and that's where I saw it. It's on Twitter.
Okay, well, apparently on Twitter somewhere, and we might try and pull it up. If you can try and find that for me, Jilly. The folks at Japan Airlines, together with Airbus, did an exercise because one of the most important issues of an emergency on an aircraft is evac, just getting the passengers off as quickly as possible, but in a controlled environment. We've seen some pretty crazy situations in the past, but it has to be said. Yeah, this is from, thank you, Alex Macaras. Where's he from? Looks like he's... Just 2 weeks ago, I was with Airbus and Japan Airlines at the recently opened safety centre located at Airbus HQ, a centre opened by Airbus in honour of Japan Airlines, forensic focus on safety. The safe full evacuation today is a testament to Japan Airlines' safety culture. They are a different breed of people, aren't they? They really are a very pleasant. That's one thing when I went to Narita, and the one thing that immediately came to mind, was obvious to me, was how kind and polite and nice and calm everybody was in Japan. It's a completely different environment to the West, I have to say, folks. Whether you agree or not, it's up to you. I don't know, but go to Japan and just experience their culture. It's an amazing thing. So these guys were not clambering over seats. Obviously, they were very concerned, you know, looking down the aisle, but once the evac notice had been given, then that was the time to go. But going back to the impact in terms of what could potentially have happened with the Japan Airlines A350-900 impacting the Dash 8, you have to sort of like, and this is kind of thing they do at air crash investigations, isn't it? You have to kind of figure if you get the nose of the JAL jet. Okay, let's just imagine that's him. He's traveling at around about, what was it, 128, 123 knots, which is your typical landing speed, and he's on the roll out. Whether or not he has applied reverse thrusters, we don't know, because you know, with the amount of the amount of fire that was created from the impact. We believe, obviously, this aircraft is outbound. The Japan Airlines jet is inbound on a high capacity flight, probably not carrying a tremendous amount of fuel, but even so, there's always the possibility of structural puncturing of the wing with fuel leakage, etc., etc. But it appears, from what we've seen, that the tanks were not punctured. Everything stayed relatively intact. But as you can see from that image there, it certainly seems to me that potentially the wing, the nose of the jet struck the possibly. Again, folks, it could be at this point here. It could have been at this point here, but I'm just wondering whether, you know, the fact that one person survived from the Dash 8 gives me reason to think that it spun it round, and once it spun the aircraft round, that then sort of like maybe collected the tail, but obviously it didn't stop the 350 in traveling forward because it just was doing such a great speed. You're talking about what are we talking about? 16 tons, is it, for the Dash 8, as opposed to around about 200 tons potentially around about that point for the landing weight for the A350-900, depending on what the aircraft the Dash 8 was carrying, etc., etc. But, you know, those are the sort of things that you need to potentially take into consideration as to what may have happened. And again, it is pure, you know, not even speculate. It's just me thinking about the what could potentially happen if he had struck him there. He wasn't on the runway like this. Let's put it that way. As far as we were aware, he wasn't on the runway like that. He was maybe possibly turning onto the runway at that point, and he wasn't even holding at that point. He was still manoeuvring. We don't know. There are video. Obviously, it would be a lot easier if it was in daylight. And to be honest with you, if it was in daylight, it probably wouldn't have happened because the JAL jet would have gone around, I'd imagine. But communication, potentially something there as well with the air traffic control. The Japan Airlines pilots are just doing what they're told, that they're clear to land. It would have been a very, very last minute, last second sighting that they probably would not have had any control over, I would imagine. Again, at that point, I would imagine that the reversers would have been applied. And also, what one needs to consider is that the pilots up front, once this has gone and everything's done with there, as far as the Dash 8 is concerned, I think it's still a miracle. I mean, in terms of anything being a miracle here, Japan Airlines with their evacuation procedures is a fantastic thing that they've done there. But with the miracle has to be the fact that one of the either passengers or flight crew, we're not sure, of the Dash 8 survived. But whether or not the reversers were applied, it certainly appears from looking at the images and the videos that we saw earlier that the reversers were not extended on the 350 XWB, Rolls-Royce XWB engines. You could quite clearly see that. Obviously, the pilots tried to bring the aircraft to a stop as soon as possible using full brakes. You could see that were the spoilers. I don't know whether the spoilers were up, but they're not there on that image that we're seeing there. But let's just bring that one back up, shall we? Is that going to work if I do that? No, it's not, is it? Oh, I need to get this right. There we go. But how do I? I can't put that there, can I? Can they see that? Can you guys? Can you guys see that? I don't know. Can they see that on their devices? Can they see that on their screens? But yeah, so obviously, you know, we're aware of what happens, the procedures, the landing procedures for a jet of this size, or any jet in particular, is as soon as they touch down.
You know, you can swap them round, so that was bigger. Remember?
Well, I tried to, but oh, there we go. Yeah.
You done it?
Yeah. The normal procedures, as soon as the aircraft touch down, reversers apply. That's the standard, and speed brakes are up, and then pilots will just the pilot will just apply the brakes. Normal operating procedures for landing an aircraft. So as soon as he or she touched down, they would have pulled the reversers up, because it's a normal standard procedure. We do often see sometimes where reversers are not applied, but the reverser doors are open. You're right. Oh. And the reverser doors are actually slid back. So, but no reverse thrust is applied. It depends on the length of the runway, how heavy the aircraft is, and so on and so forth. But we don't know whether after the impact, because they had quite a lot of runway left, and in fact, when you actually look at the length of runway they took to stop, it kind of leads me to believe that maybe the reversers were not applied. Now, whether that was something that was done in the pilots thinking we've got fire, because they couldn't see. You see, they couldn't. You don't have rear view mirrors on an airplane, so they can't, and they don't have time to sort of like look back, because they're landing an airplane and they're traveling at a high rate of knots. So they can only go on what they're thinking, and obviously, if they knew that there was fire, then obviously they would perhaps not apply the reversers, because the reversers can, in some instances, like we saw with the tragedy with the Boeing 737 with British Airways many years ago, where it lost an engine on takeoff, I think it was, and it applied the reversers, and there was a fuel leak, and it just blew the fuel all over the side of the fuselage, and it can cause all sorts of horrendous things. But whether there was communication with the air traffic control, where they said, you have collided, stop your aircraft, there's fire. Maybe they said, right, okay, dump the reversers and let's go all on brakes. Of course, you've got all that fire underneath as well. Testament to Airbus, I have to say, folks. And Airbus, I have to correct BBC, Airbus is not a French manufacturer. It is a global manufacturer. It's a consortium of which the UK are part of, in terms of the wings. But anyway, the undercarriage withstood the impact to start with, because obviously I'd imagine that although it's only, I say, 16 tons, it would have probably blown it apart. The Dash 8, it probably would have got blown to many pieces. But in terms of debris flying around all over the place, heavy parts, engines, the components, both the main undercarriage stood the test of time, and held up all the way through the braking process. It appeared certainly that the nose gear was still extended when it was actually when it was coming to a stop. Whether the nose gear just collapsed at the end of the run, we're not sure. Again, that's something that needs to be determined from investigations and so on and so forth. But you know, a big testament also has to be said, and this is one thing that I'm not 100% sure on, and maybe somebody could, if there's anybody out there who knows about the burning rate of aluminium versus carbon. I appreciate that there are glues and certain chemicals that are used in the process of the skinning of an aircraft like this. It's an all carbon fuselage, but I have to say, I've seen some pretty rapid meltdown with alloys, with aluminium, and it starts to pull very, very quickly, starts to burn, the fuselage starts to, and it obviously gets very, very hot inside. What amazed me was that they evacuated people from both sides of the aircraft, even the back of the aircraft. Whether that backslide was actually used, I don't know. But you have to think. And what is also amazing is that, you know, you would have thought that it would rapidly burn away. So again, whether those chutes are made of a specific material that withstands heat for a certain amount of time, I'm not sure. But again, testament to the because when it came up on Sky, when I saw the fuselage burning, you could see the ribs, which are obviously form part the forms of the fuselage itself, and then you obviously have the carbon itself, which forms the fuselage, and it certainly seemed to me that it stood up very, very well to the burn itself, and giving people enough time to evacuate the aircraft. So, you know, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. I'm obviously more happy to speak to metallurgists or specialists in that field who know their stuff in terms of, you know, because obviously they would have tried and tested different materials in terms of how quickly, how rapidly they burn, and the glues that they use as well, because when they fasten the fuselage segments together, they obviously use fasteners as well as glues as well, and that goes for the wings as well. But one observation that I saw, are we able to see, Julie? Let's just have a look. Let's just have a look and see if, because flight radar, let me just remove that for a second. Wait a minute. Sorry, folks, I'm still a little bit rusty on this. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I've dealt with it.
Okay. Let's just have a little look here. So flight radar have obviously done a whole thing on it, haven't they? So let's just have a look down here. Yeah, you can quite clear now this image here. You see that image there? I can't get that full screen, can I? Yeah, I can. Let me just add that.
No, Jerry's been practicing. He's doing really well.
There we go. Look at that. Obviously, images taken from passengers on the ground. Shocked, no doubt about it. Has she got a dog? Is she carrying a dog?
I don't think so.
It looks like a dog to me.
It's got a phone in the mouth.
No, this.
Oh, no.
That looks like a dog.
That does look like a little poodle, doesn't it?
It does. And people do.
Then
In Japan, they do carry their pets, and it's not on her back. That's in her side. She's holding it like that. Anyway, when you evacuate something like that, that must have been. What do you think when something like that happens? The stories that are going to come out of this are incredible. 397 people. 397 people, folks. Cabin crew, air crew, and passengers. Incredible achievement by the cabin crew, getting everybody off. But also, I was playing this, wasn't I?
No.
No.
Just with the context.
I don't know if they can hear that in the background.
The thing is, you just do not know what you will do in that situation.
You don't know what you would do in that
don't know.
situation. You have,
like to think
or
you do
what
this,
one
you do
would
that.
do in that situation. That guy looks incredibly calm. They all look incredibly calm. Great thing is, as you can notice there, folks, nobody's got their hand baggage with them, or any baggage. Obviously, they've got a couple of maybe got well, you know, maybe a backpack or something like that. But
fight or flight response kicks in.
yeah, you've got to get off the jet and forget about your whatever it is. I've seen some horrendous scenarios. Was it that one that the Russian jet that slewed off the runway, and there were people walking down, coming down the chute with their bags, and you just take that back to inside the fuselage. Hold on a minute, mate. Look, where's me think? You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got it. 6, 10 seconds, and then you got 5 people, 6 people doing that. You've got all those poor people at the back there, just stuck, unable to do anything. It's a travesty when something like that happens. I don't know what is this. I can't make that full screen, can I, GB? Oh, I can, yeah. There it is there. Okay, you can clearly see there the undercarriage. I mean, that is a total hull loss, obviously, but components that are burning on there are obviously the seats, you know, all of the cabin, the plastics on board the cabin, and so on and so forth. The back end just collapsing, the hull just giving up on itself. But look at the undercarriage. See the undercarriage still standing. It's a real testament to the braking system and everything. But it just appeared to me that in the time that we're talking about here, that aircraft burnt relatively slowly. See the dent there? See the dent there, folks? Did you see the dent there? See the dent on the front of the engine? See the dent on the front of the engine? That's quite clearly an impact, I'd imagine, and that will be something that will be able to be salvaged in terms of for the air crash investigation. See the flaps are extended. No speed brakes deployed, but whether or not that was something that was, I don't know, that was.
Lee Russell did comment that the reverses were active. He saw that on Sky News footage.
Oh, apparently Lee Russell saying that the reversers were active. So, like I said, they've hit the reversers, and they've probably been told, mate. Actually, you know what? I think that they were told you're on fire all that time when they were on the rollout, possibly by ATC. You've had an impact, you know, because they were lucky that they had the air traffic control to be able to give them information as to what was going on at the point of the rollout. So by the time they stopped, they obviously pulled the reversers back, tried to shut the engines down. Certainly appears that the left-hand engine stopped, but footage that we've seen later on shows the right-hand engine still running, appearing to still be running.
Sorry, Lee has just stand by though. This image is the one I was referring to. And upon closer inspection, looks like it's just the cowling I've popped open.
Oh, right, okay. Well,
okay.
Yeah. So we'll retract that statement then, folks. Like I say, it certainly appears that the cowl has just from impact on the floor, it's just nudged itself open because the catches are actually underneath the engine itself. So those catches have obviously popped, and the engine cowls themselves. You can clearly see there. You can clearly see there. If you look on the engine, the front of the engine cowl there, you can see that dent. Now that is not a result, I don't think, I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that appears to be an impact damage from the from potentially from the collision itself. But as you can see, the hull's burning, but it's not. Oh, okay, that's a repetitive thing, isn't it? Okay, so Yeah, pretty incredible. Hold on a minute. Let me just remove that a second. Come back to this and scroll through here. Lots of comments on it, of course. And it is a miracle, man. It is a miracle. Some people, say it's not a miracle. but if I was on that plane, I have to be honest with you, I would have definitely said that I've potentially reached the point of becoming a somebody who believes in being given other chances. But is that it? Is that it? Hold on a minute. Let me just have a look here. Okay, so yeah, I want to see if we've got any more of these. Of course, there are images on board the aircraft. This is obviously one that everybody's seen. Let me just wind this one back and just bring that one up. This is one that everybody's seen, and right here, you see. Let me just show you here quickly. Just wait a minute. Now, that's the. Oh, they can't see my mouse, can they? Can they not see my mouse? You can see the aircraft on its rollout, and just before that, you can see the red lights. I think that's the 350, but you can just about see the Dash 8, and that's the moment of impact there. It just appears to me that it is. So at that point there, with that rollout there, obviously all that destruction behind them. Now, as you can see there, from what I could see there, that front undercarriage is still up, and he's basically dragging everything down the runway with him. The fire itself was obviously not as a result of the A350's fire. It wasn't the A350 that was on fire. It was there you go. You can see that. There we go. You can see that. Now you watch this image back now. You can see the sparks being ejected from the from the number 2. It looks to me like it's running. It's a bleeding miracle if it is, but the chances are there's a good chance that the electrical feed, the control to the engines was damaged during either the impact or at some stage, and therefore no longer could they control the shutdown procedures on that engine. So there may be that particular engine was just left to run, which it certainly appears to me that the right hand to our left here, but the right hand evac slide has not been deployed either. So that is possibly, you can see the sparks coming out of that engine there, but it is a crazy scenario. But as you can see there, all that stuff that he's dragging there with him is because obviously you're not going to get flames at the front of an aircraft. You're going to get them from the wing and aft of an aircraft, especially an aircraft of that size, because there's obviously no fuel at the front of the aircraft. It's all from the wing, and the wing tanks itself, from the middle of the aircraft and the wing tanks. So what he's dragging there down the runway with him is the Dash 8's wing, probably, I'd imagine, which is why, as I mentioned to you earlier, the chances are that the impact could potentially have been with the Oh, that's not working, is it? Let's see if I can bring that up. There we go. As you can see there, with the wing tip, which then slewed the Dash 8 around, which then created more stuff going underneath the aircraft, and also creating that damage to the left-hand engine. So I don't know. Like I say, it's just something that it's the way that you have to sometimes think about things in terms of investigation, air crash investigation, and all that kind of thing. We don't want that, do we? Let's just have a look here. Lots of stuff that, lots of repetitive stuff that everybody's seen, of course. Again, I have to say, absolutely incredible. Let's just have a little look at that. Oh yeah, okay. This is a new one that I haven't seen. Stand by. Let's just change this, switch that around. I'm getting good at this, aren't I? This is the back slide being deployed and people evacuating from the back of the aircraft. Look at that. Oh, look, lamppost in the way. No surprises there then. But look at the undercarriage. I mean, you can see from what I'm seeing there, folks. From what I'm seeing there, all of that. Now, can they see my little hand going there, Julie? Can they see my hand going there? They can see that, can't they? See that? They can see that on the screen.
Oh, the mouse.
Yeah, the mouse,
yes,
the hand.
Yes.
Right, you can see all of that here. This is basically fire that's been created by the collision, from what I can see. So, and again, I have to say, amazing quick thinking by the cabin crew to say, you know, which side do we evacuate from? Obviously, you know, they've opened the door to see, and they said, no, don't go down that side because that engine is still pumping out a load of hot air. But this side, it looks like that side's clear. Let's get everyone out as quickly as we can so you can evacuate the back of the aircraft rather than having to send everyone forward to the front of the aircraft, which would have caused them a huge, great big backup. So, you know, really impressive stuff there, man. You know, again, by the folks at Japan Airlines. And there's that. Look at that slide there, man. Look at that slide. That is a real surprise, isn't it? Because that's the whole fuselage on fire now. So somehow that has all got in that fuselage, hasn't it? And once it gets going with all those with the heat, the plastics. It's the plastics that go up so quick, isn't it? But again, like I say, look at the fuselage itself. It's relatively intact at this point in time. I've seen alloy skinned aircraft that have fallen apart a lot quicker than that. You can see the front end starting to go up there as well. But it's a long time before you can see the ribs now. You can start seeing the ribs here. Look, you see the ribs there, and that's starting to burn away down there. But again, a real testament, and here unfortunately is the aircraft in question. This one here, which is an absolute travesty. Heartfelt condolences go out to the crew and the Coast Guard as well. A lot of these guys are volunteers as well, folks. You have to think who are tragically going out to help people in an earthquake the day before, which is just horrendous. Have I sort of like that's the aircraft itself. I think that's about that. I'm going to see if there's anything. Yeah, I think that's about it, folks. But yeah, listen, I'm most impressed I'm not gonna finish this by saying, right, it's this is what happened. Those are the people who are responsible. I think it's a tragic. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Da 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 da. Wait, let's remove that. Yeah, I think it's a tragic event that that happened with the whole the start of everything obviously has to go down to the fact that the stop lights for the entry points to the runway were inactive from C1 up to C5. Now I've got a picture here and it doesn't actually indicate which is C1 and C5. But it's a shame I can't show this. Can I? Can I show this on? Excuse me. If I send this to you, Jilly. Are you able to?
You got that up on screen?
Yeah. But you can see quite clearly the difference in scale in terms of the aircraft itself. It's it must have been very daunting. In fact, there's every chance, like I say, if the aircraft was because the entry points are not straight onto the runway, they are actually they're much like any runway where they're angulated so that they can use them both for turning onto the runway and also coming off the runway as well. It quite clearly shows. Now where those reds are supposed to be, oh, here we go. It does say Charlie 1 to Charlie 14. Is there even 14 entry points on that runway? Yeah, how are you getting on? So a few people, the pilots must have been very shaken up and may take time to be back in the air. JH saying, yeah, I mean, you would do, wouldn't you? But really, if you're a seasoned pilot, the chances of that happening again, obviously, lessons are always learned from incidents like this. This is the first. Well, I say the first time we had that issue with the fire crew, didn't we? A couple of years ago with that A320neo, wasn't it? Was it a couple of years ago when the fire crew mistakenly turned onto the runway, wallop hit the A320 as it was taking off, I think. Have you done it? Yeah. Where is it? Oh, there we go. So there you can quite clearly see. By the way, this is, again, a big thanks to Malcolm for sending us this through, one of our members. You can see the impact point and see how far it is down the runway before the aircraft comes to a stop. But you see the little image there of the Dash 8 at the entry point. Now, you can see all the number of different entry points, taxiway points, hold points, etc., etc. They have obviously, you know, the normal procedure is hold at Charlie 5. But if there's no lights to tell them to hold at Charlie 5, then you would take precaution, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you take precaution and go like, whoa, hold on a minute, because obviously they've been told that there's a 350 on approach. There's no other runway in sight, so there's only one aircraft that's on approach. So it's just whether these Coast Guard pilots were familiar with the airport. That's the other thing as well. You need to consider that, because I don't know if they were based there, what they were doing there. I don't know. I know that they were picking up or taking out supplies. There were two of them apparently, and they were taking out supplies for earthquake victims. And so whether these aircraft were based there, or whether they were stopping there to pick up the supplies and then fly out, I don't know. But let's just have a look. Yes, true, Matthew. They may have been fatigued. Indeed, that's a good point. When I watched the video 2 minutes before, it looks like 78-2A was on the runway for at least 50 seconds. That's a bit crazy, isn't it? Let me just scroll that up again. When you watch the video of the 2 minutes before, Joe Hart saying, it looks like the 72A was on the runway for at least 50 seconds.
Do you want me to take this off?
Yeah. Actually, no. Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, you can leave it there.
I'll take it on.
Yeah. 50 seconds. That's, well, we can put screen in screen, can't we, Jilly? Or not? No. Okay, take it back to blah, blah. So, Joe, that's a very interesting point that you make there. Because if that was the case, if he's on the runway for 50 seconds, then the air traffic control, was the command by air traffic control to depart? Had he given the aircraft clearance to depart? I don't understand that, because when the Japan Airlines jet was on approach, when he was literally, he would have given the aircraft the command to go around, or he would have given the ATR, the Dash 8, the command to move off the runway. Something would have happened with in that 50 seconds. The video of the 2 minutes before, I haven't seen that video of the 2 minutes before. Have we got that anywhere? Is that something that's to hand, so to say?
Lucia says there's a video on AV Herald that shows the full sequence from approach to impact.
Av Herald?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try and bring that up then. Let's just have a little look at that. Hold on a minute. AV and this is the go-to. Av Herald is the go-to site for air crash investigations, incidents, and accidents. Let's just have a look. It's on Twitter. Should we go to their Twitter page?
No, it's right at the top of the Herald.
I know, but this is on their Twitter page. Okay.
Now go to the website.
Okay, go back to that. Stand by, folks. Okay, JAL. Okay. Wow. Airline reported 350 was carrying 367 passengers, including 8 children, 12 crew, all of them evacuated from the aircraft. In a second press release, the airline reported there had been no anomaly with the aircraft prior to departure. The crew had received and read back landing clearance. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me just get this right. Collided with Japanese Coast Guard. Do you want to touch that? Person flight. Okay, just stop right on the runway. 1,680 meters down the runway, and was evacuated. All occupants evacuated. Blah blah. The other aircraft, 6 people burst into flames. 5 of the 6 occupants are confirmed dead, but both aircraft burned down. 14 occupants of the 359 received injuries. Captain of Dash 8 received serious. Okay, captain of the Dash 8 received serious injuries. Now that's interesting. I hope he survives. I hope he survives, because he's going to be a very important part in that whole sequence, isn't he, in terms of giving his feedback. But I'm still interested. Japan's Coast Guard reported was carrying 6 people. The captain was able to evacuate. The other 5 are currently missing. The aircraft was carrying supplies to the Niigata base where the New Year's earthquake struck. 5 occupants of the Dash 8 are confirmed dead. Tokyo's fire department reported passengers of the 359 reported the landing appeared normal at first. After touchdown, there was a thud and the outside lit up in orange. The first announcement was made, please calm down, followed by do not take your luggage and do not stand up. There was no clear announcement to evacuate. However, when other passengers stood up, they also stood up and thus escaped. This is where you've got to be pretty damn forceful if you're a cabin crew member to make sure that you confirm that. I tell you, if I was a cabin crew attendant and something like that happened, I would be telling people to do stuff like that. Japan's Ministry of Transport in the press conference, nothing being diverted to Narita, according to OC calling. The A359 is, as well as a number of other aircraft departing runway 34 right, were handed off to tower frequency 118725. However, the Coast Guard Dash 8 was handed off to tower 12435. JAL516, upon being handed off to tower by approach, was told by tower to continue approach. About 90 seconds later, tower cleared the aircraft to land. Haneda Airport resumed operation. Okay, so that's interesting. Nothing there which indicates the there's all the METARs there. There's the NOTAMs. Nothing there to mention anything about the aircraft being on the active runway for 50 seconds. We'll have to look into that. Yeah, lots of people commenting on this as well. Thank you for all of your inputs. Following the incident, the involved controllers are relieved until the ATC tapes are reviewed and controller statements are taken. Yeah, indeed. They will be. That's a very interesting point there in terms of 2 different tower frequencies being used. That's something that. Yeah, because you got a runway being used for departures and arrivals, but surely both of those aircraft would be on the same frequency. Wouldn't you think that? I wouldn't have thought so. I would have thought so. Yeah, lots of comments. Apparently there were lots of extra takeoffs put into the regular ones. Crazy, man. It's crazy. Screaming Amy, one about resident pilots obviously mentioning about the obligation to stay on board and render all possible assistance to the end. Incredible, isn't it? You know, when you consider you've possibly got people with disabilities that need assistance, and it you know, I think anyone in any scenario would help those people, wouldn't they? I certainly would. I couldn't just go past someone, seeing them sitting there unable to move. You might have to manhandle them, but you'd get them off the plane, wouldn't you? You'd be going, "Oi, mate, give us an hand here," you know, and then just drag them off with you, you know, get them off the plane. Don't leave them there alone. 72A is the Dash 8 question mark. 50-second Petros. 50 seconds is a long time. It's a huge amount of time. Long enough for ATC on whatever frequency it is, and also visually seeing what is around the airport, because they have a bleeding great big screen with all the aircraft on the ground, which will show up regardless of, even if they are on a different frequency, surely. And someone would say, what is that aircraft doing on the runway when we've got a Japan out? Is he going to go or what? Are we going to? I mean, you know, we've seen it on our own show when we're at Heathrow, where it's like, well, hold on a minute, this guy needs to get off the runway, and obviously it's a lot different when it's daytime, but yeah, kind of crazy. Luca Thompson, rightly so, Coast Guard aircraft pilot may not be used to a busy international airport. Yeah, they may not have been familiar with the airfield. We see that a lot. We don't know exactly where they were based, or whether they were there just to pick up the crew, potentially the volunteers, or the equipment, or whatever it was. But again, oh, is that Iona Scott or Lona Scott? ATC told the A350 to go around.
I've seen a few people say that. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very interesting, because that throws a whole different light on it. Because if the ATC and those records and recordings are easily available, and that will be something that will have come to light very, very quickly. But Iona, thank you. Very interesting. Told to go around. Why would you disobey a command like that? Interesting.
I don't think they disobeyed it.
Well, they didn't hear it. They were told to go around.
No, I'm looking. I saw somebody say earlier that they go around.
Fishing with Mr. W. Surely they must have heard each other on the ATC. Yeah, of course. So, I mean, we've seen many times with cockpit audio, you can hear.
Somebody saying no.
You can hear the other aircraft being talked to as well. It's not just your aircraft that is
EGPX says the go around was for the following aircraft. So
okay.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So apparently there might be a little bit of the aircraft behind it was given the command to go around. So and probably so many other ones as well. Yeah, Steam's saying ATC definitely going to be questioned. That's one of the first things. Yeah, of course. That's one of the first things that will happen in terms of the investigation. Will be hopefully the pilot survives of the Dash 8. Of course, we've got all the air crew on the A350. We've got survivors basically, and key survivors as well, which is a great thing. It could have gone horribly wrong. Yeah, he's in a critical condition. We not just so that he can throw light on it, but just for his sake as well. Let's hope he pulls through. Rusty, if the Dash was on the runway, the A350 would have towed. Yeah. It may have been that the Dash 8 was at such an angle that the pilot wouldn't have seen the lights on the Dash 8. Does the Dash 8 have flickers on the top of the T-tail? I'm guessing that it has the tail light, doesn't it? If you look at a Dash 8 from behind, you're going to see that tail light. But when you're flying an aircraft in at such high speed, and you've got a runway ahead of you, and everything's black, and all that's visible is possibly. Don't forget that the nav lights are on the leading edge of the wings. Generally, they're on the tips of the wings, on the leading edge, and not on the aft section of the wing. So you're not going to see them. May have seen the anti-collision. Is there an anti-collision on the top of the aircraft? From what I can see, and these models are extremely detailed. Certainly looks to me like there is no anti-collision. There looks like there's a light right on top of the tail, potentially. But again, like I say, such a small light that that may have been not so much insignificant, but missed quite easily by the pilots who are concentrating on that center line to keep that aircraft on the center line. One pilot looking at his or her instruments, the other pilot concentrating on the center line. It's like I say, it's speculation, isn't it? And it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what it could potentially have been. And it's something that we will over time find out, I'd imagine. So yeah, we will leave it there. If it was on the runway for 50 seconds, then surely the 50 would have seen it and decided to go around. Scott Cowell saying, well, again, visually, again, like I say, Scott, total darkness would have been different in the daytime. In daylight, it wouldn't have been an issue whatsoever. It would have been something that would have been completely visible, and he would have gone around. But in total darkness, we've seen, if you look at an airfield, just look at Heathrow when we're at the courtyard and look over there. I've been, I remember Toronto when I was taxiing out for the runway at Toronto, at New York. There are just lights everywhere, folks. And that's why I've said before, it's incredible, not just being able to fly these aircraft, but also navigate around airfields in total darkness. Of course, the runway is an environment, is a sterile environment. It just has the side lights and the center line lights. But you know, so if you see something else on there, then it is a little bit of a sort of, you know, let's bear in mind that this guy had already touched down. Okay, he was already down on the ground and he was doing his rollout. So he's come across this thing at 165 miles an hour, something like that, 128 knots. As at the point of impact was around about 128 knots. I don't know what that is in miles per hour, about 160 miles an hour. You've got very little time to react, I have to say, to even swing the aircraft round or make a sudden change in direction. It's almost an impossibility, and it may, like I say, have been that at that when you look at that position there. Okay, look at that position there. You see how the tip of the tail is above the flight deck. So their eye view is probably halfway down the tail, the vertical stabilizer. So the only thing that they're going to see in terms of lighting is going to be, is there a light at the back of a Dash 8? I know there is on an ATR, but is there one at the back of a Dash 8? I think that is a tail light there potentially. It's not an APU because it doesn't have an APU, but that might be a light there. But again, it's coming up on you at 165 miles an hour, folks, or however fast it might be. It's a rapid speed and it gives you very, very little time to react. So it's just interesting. It's something that we've discussed, and we will obviously monitor it and see what comes about. And if you've got any further information, folks, then please, share it with us. We will obviously be live tomorrow, and be bringing you more stuff from Heathrow, and we will probably maybe have a little bit more updates. I would imagine it's going to be probably about another week before we start really hearing the outcome of responsibility and so on and so forth. But in fact, it might even be longer than that. But it's so easy to speculate. But the bottom line is, it's a bleeding miracle that when I first saw it on Sky, I was like, oh my God, that's total disaster, because it was in flames. And hearing the word collision, it just made me think of KLM and Pan American, that kind of incident. I thought it might have been a bigger jet, but then I saw what was happening on the screen, realised that it was a collision with a small aircraft. Well, I say small, it's not that small. You can see the scale of it there. It's big enough, and like I say, getting on for 20 tons of aircraft straight in your face, it's going to make a mess. A real tragedy, and so sorry for the families of those amazing people. They must have been who dedicated their lives to try and save other people's lives. So just think for a moment about them, and let's hope that of course the pilot pulls through, and we can hopefully get a little bit more information out of him or her. But it's a tragedy. Something's down with the remember, folks, all the way back to Charlie 1 to Charlie 14. From what we're hearing, that the stoplights were not working, so there was no way for normally you get hold at, stop at, at Charlie 5, for example. You're clear, follow the greens to Charlie 5, stop at Charlie 5. Well, if there's no reds, those greens will come to an end. It's then down to the pilots, like, where are we? Hold on a minute, what's going on here? Well, that's the runway ahead there. That's clearly a bleeding great big runway there. We've got our lights on. Look to your right. Okay, I can see maybe the 350 was way off in the distance. Maybe they were sitting there for so long that they couldn't see the 350. But even so, at that point, there would have been communications with the air traffic control. Again, air traffic control, 2 frequencies. What's going on there? I don't know. But even so, if they're talking to one of their ATC frequencies, they're like, okay, so you want us to hold here? There's no light, there's no stop lights here. Oh yeah, the lights aren't working. Oh, okay, so what? You want us to stop here? Yeah, just hold it there. Yeah, just hold it there. Don't stop, because you've got 350 on the way in. Stop there. You've got 350 coming in. Okay, we'll hold here until you tell us to move and go. So some kind of breakdown in communication is what I'm thinking here. I don't want to apportion any blame. You can't apportion blame at this stage. The Japan Airlines pilots, I think, have done their job in terms of going by what the air traffic control was saying. Clear to land, runway 34, whatever it was. Normally, when there's an aircraft holding, you're not told. Be aware, traffic holding at whatever. They don't generally say that. Again, communication between air traffic control, the two different air traffic controls.
Before you go any further, before we go, Craig has just sent me the link to the ATC. If you want to listen to it online, atc.net.
Interesting. Of course we do.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're going to right.
Have you got access to your email?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Blah blah.
Should be in your inbox.
They're not seeing this on this screen, are they?
No.
Okay. ATC Tokyo. Yeah. Shall I throw it in there? Shall I drag it across?
Open the link and drag it across. Not your email, John. It's okay.
Contact. ATC Tokyo.
Yeah.
Where is
There
it?
should be a URL in that email.
ATC Tokyo. Okay. Forwarded message. Okay, here it is here. And now something went wrong. Site can't be reached.
Oh dear. Okay, so the link doesn't work.
Oh, the link doesn't work.
Just let me check.
Sorry, folks. Stand by.
Well, that's opened up fine on my phone.
This could open this. Oh, is it? Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we play it out on here? They can hear it on there. Can you?
You might have to turn volume.
Turn volume up. No, it's no.
I'm not for long.
Right. Okay. Wait a minute. That's playing. Right. Okay. Let's just see. Hold on, folks. Stand by. We're gonna try and play this audio out now. Should I bring that mic over there? Is that? Let's just have a go with this. No, it's inaudible, mate. It's so quiet. It's. Are you playing it through your headset?
No, my headset's connected.
Right. Okay. Maybe if I play it on here, and play it through a Bluetooth speaker. Would that work? Stand by. Sorry, folks. Oh, what's going on here?
It's fine, you do.
Well, it wasn't that loud when I tried it just now.
You had to wait for it. That's all. Yeah, you can hear that. It's fine. I couldn't stand that. I don't know about you, but I can't
Folks,
stand that.
I'm not even going to bother trying that. Let's just make sure that it doesn't like clear up halfway through or something.
Yeah, well, we can try and clean that up.
No. What they will do is they will take that into an edit suite, an audio suite, and they will clean it up so that they can just get the
I can put the link.
the audio in there. We're going to post the link. Where are we going to post it, Julie?
I'll put it on chat.
So there we go, folks. Yeah, again, I think we've covered everything. Testament to the aircraft itself, to the air crew for doing what they did, and of course, I believe that as is always the case, the captain was the last to depart the aircraft, managing to evacuate the aircraft through the front slides and through the rear as well on one side. A clean evac, very quick indeed. Normally, I think on something of this size, you have to be around about 90 seconds to get everybody off. When you've got one engine still running as well, that's pretty incredible. Carbon wings, testament to our friends in Wales who build the wings, and of course the fuel tanks, which are obviously reinforced. Carbon wings on the A350. So obviously, as you can appreciate, carbon is a lot stronger than steel, than alloy, and therefore the chances of puncturing the wing and creating a fuel link are less, not completely impossible, but are just it's slightly better. Well, it's a lot better in terms of its strength and durability with carbon. So that's a good job. Let's face it, that dash 8 with all the sharp edges and everything could have ripped through that wing, which again leads me to think that it wasn't a direct impact like that. I think it was more something like that, which then spun the aircraft around like this potentially, and wallop maybe maybe that wing hit the engine cowl. One just can't really speculate, but yeah. Let's hope it all gets cleared up. Lessons have been learned. Someone's going to get a bit of a talking to in terms of. I'm pretty sure it's something to do with And again, I'm not saying that it's definite, but air traffic control. What's up, GP? air traffic control have a big part to play in this, I believe. So miscommunication, misunderstanding, unfamiliarity with the airfield, the lights not working. There's a few factors involved there which are going to need to be looked into, but I think it's going to, because of the fact that there's so many people survived, it's going to come to light pretty quickly. We're going to finish it there, folks. We're going to be back tomorrow. I hope you've been patient with us. Thank you very much for your patience. Just to let you know that this thing here has got the capability of doing lefts and rights, and we're able to also look around the airfield and all that kind of thing. On here, we can zoom in on things, which we're going to look at a later date. And that's the whole airport set up there, folks. Thank you once again to Aviation Retail Direct, our friends over there, and for our friends in China for sorting out that pad. All made up from bits and bobs and stuff like that. But that's about it. Thank you, Jilly, for did I do well, Jilly?
Yes, yeah, you did good.
Awesome, thank you. So folks, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Look after yourselves.
Not as good as me, but good. Oh. Good enough.
But thank you. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Bye bye. What are you doing? How are you rolling that out then?
I will roll the titles.
Okay. Cheers.
Ready?